Right now at noon, KOAM yesterday hosted its final flag swap of the year in Parsons, Kansas.
And we've got one last warm day across the 4 states before a cold front switches us back to fall. Take a look at that forecast coming up.
And we have good news concerning 2 firefighters who were injured battling a blaze in Newton County.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning The
4 states' most watched news starts now.
Time in a federal prison for his role in a kidnapping conspiracy that left 1 person dead. Lawrence William Vaughn, also known as Scary Larry, was sentenced by a U.S. district judge yesterday. Vaughn would spend 25 years in federal prison without parole for a kidnapping conspiracy that resulted in the torture and death of Michael Hall, and in a separate and unrelated case for illegally possessing stolen firearms. Vaughn admitted that he participated in a conspiracy to kidnap Hall in July of 2020. 5 co-defendants also pleaded guilty earlier this year and await sentencing. The Kansas Department of Transportation wants to remind drivers US 166-400 east of Baxter Springs opens up this week. The existing US 166K26 junction will be closed to traffic today in order to switch traffic onto the new US 166-400 realignment and expansion project in Cherokee County, weather permitting. 2-way traffic will be placed on the new eastbound lanes of the US 166-400 between Baxter Springs and the Kansas-Missouri border. KDOT is in the process of expanding US 166-400 to 4 lanes and constructing 2 interchanges from US 400 southeast to the Kansas-Missouri state line.
We've got another warm and breezy day out there again. We've got clear skies from Mark Hammer on top of the Cornell Complex downtown Joplin. When this is running as smoothly as it can, you can see those flags blowing in the breeze because it's another windy one. MoDOT camera 20th in range line also showing those clear skies, and of course it is still quite breezy. Yesterday we set another record high. We might do that again today. We'll see. Yesterday started at 60, made it up to 84. So again, our average high is 62. We only started 2 degrees below that, and we should be at 40 for the low. And our previous record was 83, set back in 2005. Looking outside, again, clear skies, Joplin, Pittsburgh, and well on our way to potentially setting or breaking or tying more records. 79 in Joplin, 78 in Pittsburgh. Out to the southwest where the wind's really kicking up. Take a look at some of these temperatures. 82 Welch, Veneta, Miami, 81 Oswego. A little cooler back to the northwest. That cold front getting closer. 73 Yates Center, Iola, 76 in Chanute, 78 Fort Scott, Nevada, Lamar, and 79 over in Carthage. We go through the rest of the evening. Initially, we're not too bad. We're in the 60s with those clear skies. However, temperatures are going to start to fall as we head into the overnight hours. And of course, this is an excellent opportunity to make sure you have the KOAM Skywatch weather app. You have the entire Skywatch weather team right there in the palm of your hand. Keep up on all the latest weather information. Again, our fall-like temperatures are set to make a very dramatic return tonight. We'll take a look at that full forecast here in just a few more minutes. Amber?
Thanks, Chris. We have good news concerning 2 firefighters who were injured battling a blaze in Newton County. The fire broke out Monday at a house near Greenberg and Fern Drive. Crews encountered smoke and extreme heat inside. 2 firefighters required medical attention but were treated on the scene, and neither had required the next level of care. Authorities say the contents of the home were a complete loss. KOAM yesterday hosted its final flag swap of the year. Residents of Parsons, Kansas were able to bring their old tattered American flags to Tolan Creek Park across from Walmart and get them exchanged for a brand new one. One of the sponsors of the event says it's a way of giving back to the community.
We absolutely had to sponsor this event, so the American Flag Swap is an important part to make sure that people can take their flags and dispose of them the proper way, and this is our way of giving back to the community, giving back to the veterans of the local Parsons area footprint.
The old flag swapped out yesterday will be properly retired by local scouts on Veterans Day. The city of Joplin wants to remind drivers that parts of Main Street and Joplin Street will be closed Saturday morning for the 36th annual Joplin Community Veterans Day Parade. The parade begins at 10 a.m. at 15th and Main. From there, it moves to north to 3rd Street, turns west until Joplin Avenue, then heads south to City Hall between 5th and 7th Streets. Those portions of the city will be closed off for motorists during the parade, but it'll reopen by noon. Well, despite the warm temperatures, downtown Miami is getting into the Christmas spirit. Businesses within the downtown area are putting up decorations and prepping for the Christmas on Main Street celebration. The celebration is only one part of the overall initiative to revitalize the Miami Business District on the historic Route 66. Christmas on Main Street events will kick off on November 17th.
There's going to be reindeer here, the Grouch of Ottawa County, photo ops with a snow machine. So we've got a lot of things happening, and it's going to be pretty neat. But it's just a way that families can come down here, maybe spend some time, walk through the Christmas lights, enjoy the photo ops, see some reindeer. That's all on Friday, and then on Saturday we have Santa is coming.
Christmas on Main Street events will kick off on November 17th. A couple of Call Junction seniors earned high school Heisman honors. Seniors Aiden Bichner and Josie Gilbert are the Call Junction High School winners in the High School Heisman Scholarship Program. They are now eligible to continue in the state and national competition for scholarship funds. The Heisman High School Scholarship Program honors the nation's most accomplished, community-minded high school senior athletes. And yesterday was election day, and if you want to see those results, you can just download the KOAM Plus app. It's available free of charge on the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, whatever is your choice. Just search for the KOAM News App Plus. And that's a look at today's top stories and weather in your first 7 minutes. Up next on the KOAM News at noon, we'll have the latest on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And later, we're making butternut squash and apple soup in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. More than a month after the Hamas terror attacks on October 7th, Israel military says it's now fighting on the ground inside Gaza City, where it says Hamas is deeply entrenched. CBS News correspondent Charlie D'Agata embedded with the Israel Defense Forces in northern Gaza Tuesday, where the commander told him the fight inside Gaza is nowhere near as traumatic as the day they saw the victims of the October 7th attacks.
The paratroopers of the 551st Airborne Brigade were among the first troops inside Gaza when the major ground incursion began.
We've just crossed into Gaza, and as we have, it's not lost on anybody here that travel along the same sort of roads that Hamas gunmen used to cross over into Israel to launch their attacks.
We arrived to find the ruins of Beit Hanun. This is what heavy bombardment from the air looks like. Strikes designed to destroy tunnels and fighting positions, and improvised explosive devices, or IEDs. But Lieutenant Colonel Ido Cass says they're still finding plenty everywhere.
Listen, the whole place, the kindergartens, the schools, the mosques, everything is full with IEDs.
He showed us what he said was a launch pad for Hamas missiles positioned right next to a family swimming pool. Even here, Hamas militants are still on the attack.
Well,
southwest of here, Israeli forces have begun penetrating Gaza City itself. Our CBS News colleague, Marwan Al-Ghul, spoke to some of those fleeing the fighting.
Thousands of people have been walking for hours to cross from Gaza north to the south, carrying nothing.
We are civilian people. We want to live in our land with peace. But nobody in the world, you let us to leave.
There's no telling whether they'll ever be able to return home or if anything will be left standing when they do.
So regarding the rules of the embed, the Israeli military has tight restrictions on coverage, mainly having to do with not showing anything that might give away locations or reveal the identities of some of their soldiers. So the IDF has reviewed the raw footage as a condition of entry into Gaza, but had no control over our final report. Charlie D'Agata, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
As the fighting continues, the humanitarian crisis for millions of Palestinian civilians living in Gaza grows more dire. The Palestinian Red Crescent said a hospital in Gaza is expected to run out of fuel today. An Israeli woman walked through the ruins of her house in central Israeli town after a rocket from Gaza made a direct hit to the building last night. The woman, who only identified herself as Matti, told Israeli media that her husband, her mother, and herself had just made it into a safe room before the rocket penetrated through the roof and the first floors of the ceiling, causing significant damage. Israel has been pounding Gaza from the air and using ground troops to divide narrow coastal strip into two. The Israeli bombardment has killed more than 10,000 Palestinians. Around 40% of them are children over the past month, according to counts by health officials in Hamas-ruled Gaza. Israel says 32 of its soldiers have been killed. Well, still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
A homemade soup that's perfect for the season. Grab yourself a spoon, and I'll meet you right back here in the test kitchen.
But first, fall-like temperatures are on their way back to the 4 states. It's going to begin as early as tonight. We'll take a look at that forecast when we come back. Welcome back to the KOAM News at noon. So, the cold front we were talking about this morning starting to sneak in out there. In fact, you can actually see it on the Skywatch storm tracker in the form of some clouds. So we told you we'd start seeing some increasing clouds this afternoon. That's exactly what's starting to go on. So there it is, that little line of clouds that you kind of see just in the northwestern fringes of our viewing area is our cold front. And it's going to continue to roll on through the area. So it's going to give us partly, maybe even some brief, mostly cloudy skies, but it won't block the sun completely. However, it will start to bring us some cooler temperatures. Now, the good news is this front, it's going to make it colder for sure, but it's not going to be like last week. We've talked about last week, because last week was just insane, because the weekend before that, we had that system come through. Our temperatures plummeted and were 20 degrees below normal. It's not going to be quite that strong, but it's going to be strong enough to tell Mother Nature to get back in order here with our fall-like temperatures. MoDOT camera, 20th and range line, plentiful sunshine, clear skies out there. And from our camera on top of the Cornell Complex, downtown Joplin, you can see the winds really whipping out there. But if you look at the direction of flags and think of which way, if you're familiar with downtown, which way this camera's pointed. It's pointed roughly off to the northeast. So that means the winds are beginning their shift on the Missouri side to start coming out of the southwest. KDOT camera, 69 and East 520th Avenue. Also sunshine out there, and you can see the blue skies from our camera at 7th and range line. 79 degrees. Feels like 80. We broke a record yesterday. It is very probable that we could do the same today. Southwest winds now out of the southwest, 22 gusting to 32. Over on the Kansas side of things, Pittsburgh, sunny, 78, feels like 79. Southwest breeze at 20, gusting upwards of 24 miles an hour. That temperature line gives you a very good idea, and you can see the shift in the wind arrows, where we're getting that northwesterly breeze and that westerly breeze as it starts to roll in. So out ahead of this front, take a look. Miami, 82, 82 Veneta, 81 Grove, Chautauqua, 80 in Parsons, and then you travel just a pinch off to the northwest, and that's 73 Yates Center, 73 Iola, and then right back down here, 79 Neodesha. So there is that temperature contrast that's beginning to roll on through the area. So again, today, for those of you who've already reached this, so example, Yates Center. You've already reached your high. That's as warm as you're going to get. We're still looking at highs 80 degrees, low 80s out there, so still 10 to 15 above average. Those winds shifting around on us, gusting 35, maybe 40 miles an hour. We're mild initially through the evening, and once that cold front comes through, we fall back into the upper 40s. Now, technically, as you saw in the almanac, that's still above normal. It's much colder than what we've seen, but it's still above normal. Winds out of the north now, gusting to 30. As we head into our Wednesday, we're looking at mostly cloudy skies. Sorry, this is Wednesday. As we head into our Thursday, mostly cloudy skies, 56 out there. North breeze still gusting to 25. And we could see an evening shower or two along and south of I-44. Anything we see is going to be relatively isolated. So unfortunately, this particular system, not our best chance for rain out there. We start to get a little closer to normal Friday and heading into the weekend. We're into the low to mid 60s out there. We stay pretty decent heading into next week. Then we start to turn around and warm back up above average. And by next Friday, we're looking at the possibility at least of a little more meaningful chances of rainfall. So we're certainly holding on for that. But remember real quick, as our daytime highs return to normal fall-like levels, so do the overnight lows. So get ready for some cold mornings out there as we fall back into the upper 30s and low 40s. So I know we've been dealing really nicely. We've had the 60s to wake up to. You got to get used to the 40s, and you got to get used to it starting tonight. Amber?
Nice. Well, I'm tired of flipping my AC and heater off. I'm just ready for consistent.
It's been tough, and we'll at least we get 5 days of fall. I suppose that's better than no days of fall, right?
I'll take what we can get. Thank you, Chris. Stick around. We're making butternut squash and apple soup in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. We'll be right back. Just in time for Thanksgiving, Howard is making butternut squash and apple soup in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
As the weather gets cooler and cooler, there's nothing like a comforting bowl of soup to warm you up. And since we love cooking with the seasons, today we're sharing a recipe that starts with 2 fall favorites, apples and butternut squash. To make it, we begin by melting butter in a soup pot, along with some cut up butternut squash, a chunked up apple, and a bit of chopped onion. When it comes to the squash, you can use a fresh cut one, or you can save some time by buying a pre-cut one from the produce department. After a bit, we add in some spices, our fall favorites, cinnamon, nutmeg, and some salt and pepper, along with some chicken broth. Now we cover it and let it simmer until it's fall apart tender. To make your soup velvety smooth, you can puree it in a blender, or if you have an immersion blender, you can use it right in the pot. Add some half and half and you're good to go. Talk about the perfect soup for this time of year. Maybe top each bowl with a few croutons and dig in. If you'd like the recipe for our butternut squash and apple soup, simply visit our website. I know you'll be glad you did. I'm Howard of the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a super creamy way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Now here's a look at the 4-state market prices.
Low 80s today, windy again tomorrow, mostly cloudy, below normal as we fall back to the mid 50s, maybe an evening shower or two. Back to normal Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday-ish. We'll have some days of fall, and we're otherwise looking good. But remember, as I've said before, as our daytime highs fall back to average, so do the lows, and it's going to feel pretty darn cold compared to what we've had the last several days.
So,
what's going on at the 5 o'clock?
well, a lot coming up at 5. For starters, the third Republican presidential debate takes place tonight in Miami. The GOP hopefuls are also likely to take aim at the leading candidate, former President Donald Trump, who is skipping the debate and holding a rally in a nearby suburb instead. Plus, 10 years ago, Pitcher, Oklahoma was bought out by the government. Tonight, we're going to meet a former resident of the ghost town. And Special Olympic athletes get the ball rolling with bowling in Pittsburgh. Join us for those stories, a lot more. KOAM News at 5.
And that's all the news we have for now. Thank you for joining us on KOAM News at noon. Have a great rest of your day.